Hello. How are y'all doing? Um this message has been on my mind since last night. It was trying to come through me last night at like 11 o'clock at night when I was trying to go to bed. And I was like, okay, please let me sleep. And I'll jump on and I'll convey it tomorrow, but I need sleep. So it's strong. This message is strong. Um And if you would like to receive even deeper clarity around what this means for you, you can always book a one-on-one with me. Um, it's an intuitive guidance session designed to just help you get more deeply aligned and in tune with the clarity that you already have or the alignment that you already know, but it's just hidden under layers of fog, judgments, stories. And so I kind of help you to see past the judgments and the stories to what you already know you need to either do or not do. So I'll leave that below. Let's get into it. Most of the time, the breakthroughs that we are waiting for are not for our thoughts to get quieter. We're not waiting for our ego to get smaller. We're not waiting for the external circumstances to go away. We're not waiting for life to drastically shift and change miraculously outside of us. Those are not the breakthroughs that we are on a soul deep level being guided towards. Most of the time, the breakthrough is choosing to rise up in face of all fears and limitations and external seeming restraints and limitations and happenings, and choose to root yourself so firmly in the truth and the presence of who you are that you decide that these things mean nothing about you. You decide that while, yes, my thoughts are loud, my thoughts are telling me I'm not good enough, my thoughts are telling me I'm not going to make enough money doing this, my thoughts are telling me that this road is scary and it's not going to provide for me and I need to turn around and go back to the comfort of what I know. The breakthrough is not for those thoughts to go away. The breakthrough is for you, in face of those thoughts, remembering who you are and saying, oh yeah, I don't have to actually choose to believe you. And then moving straight through it and continuing on your merry way regardless. The breakthrough is not your ego dying. Your ego dies when you begin acting as if your ego is not the truth of who you are. You respect your ego, you observe your ego, you notice that your ego is there, you notice that you are viewing the world through limited perception, but you choose to move regardless. You choose to follow your heart regardless. And I really don't resonate with messages that are like, just follow your joy. While yes, I understand them, and yes, actually I agree with them, I don't think it's always a great way to convey what the message is trying to say. Oh, just follow your joy. Most of the time it's like, what the hell is my joy? Like, when we've been when we've been being held captive by the ego for so long, we have no idea what is bringing us joy versus what is bringing our ego joy. We can't seem to differentiate. And so we keep acting out of egoic impulses, calling it following my joy, and then it all crumbles. It ends up not working, it ends up falling through. It's because these things are attempting to teach us how to see when we're acting from our ego and to see when we are acting from the divine space within us. Our ego, if you can observe yourself, your ego is always going to act out of lack, out of fear. You're going to make moves because you're afraid if you don't, you won't have enough money. You're making moves because if you are afraid if you don't, you're going to get left behind. You're making moves because you're afraid if you don't, people aren't going to accept you. You're making moves because you're afraid if you don't, nobody's going to understand you and you're going to be left alone. You're making moves because you are afraid. And this is, when we first start tuning into this, a very subtle energy, because it's all that we're used to. This is just how we are acting. We are acting out of survival mode. So every action that we take is out of fear, is out of survival. We don't know anything else. So when people come up to us and say, oh, just follow your joy, you're like, yeah, I thought that I fucking was, because I thought my joy was not starving to death. I thought my joy was making sure I had a roof over my head. I thought my joy was getting external approval so that I felt validated and worthy for being me. I thought that was my joy. So it can be confusing. I have to take my jacket off. I always get hot when I do these messages. So the breakthrough is noticing these subtle energies and that we're reacting to. If you notice that you're tense, if you notice that you are afraid, you don't feel safe, you think the world is crumbling above you, and so you're panicking and you're taking action because you're drowning and you're trying to keep yourself afloat, that is acting from your ego. And the breakthrough isn't for your ego to go away. The breakthrough isn't for your ego to die. The breakthrough is when you choose to rise up and say, okay, I see you. I see that you're scared. I see that you don't feel worthy. I see that you don't feel good enough. I see you. And from this pop out place of seeing you, I see that you have been running my life. I see that you have been making the choices for me. Okay. Now, let me go inwards with this observation. This is when we go into hermit mode and we go within for a little while. It's because we need to become absolutely clear with ourselves and our intentions and our actions. We go into hermit mode because we're trying to untangle this sort of web that we've got our life into. Our life has become an intertangled web of actions and beliefs that we don't even know up from down or left from right. We're just doing our best. We're just surviving. And so when you go inward and you face the fears of lack, you face the fears of unworthiness, you face the fears of whatever it is, and you sit with yourself in the fear and reflect back on your life thus far, to be able to notice, like, okay, I can see now. When I was taking double, triple shifts at the restaurant, and it was absolutely exhausting me, it was draining me, I had no life force energy. That was out of pure survival instinct. I wasn't taking the double shifts because I actually needed them to survive. I was taking the double shifts because I was afraid if I didn't, I was going to be out on the streets. I was afraid if I didn't, the world wasn't going to care for me. I was afraid if I didn't, God was not going to be there for me, backing me up. Actually, I can't trust God. I can only rely on myself. So I have to take the double shifts in order to provide. And so it is. We are so loved by this womb space that we exist within, that whatever we say, whatever we believe, and so it is, not to punish us, but to simply reflect back to us our own power. If we were being small, helpless victims, and then God came and saved us and pulled us up out of the darkness and we didn't have to do anything, it's not that we wouldn't deserve it. It's that we wouldn't have woken up to who we are. We would have still felt like we were the small, limited being that needs something outside of us to come and save us. But that's not the truth. God loves us so much that the womb space we exist within, the divine mother, is simply reflecting back to us our own beliefs. as a reflection of how powerful we are. The mother loves us so much that she would never take away our power. She would never take away our sovereignty. And sometimes that means we have to face our own miscreations in order to wake up to the power that we created them. Thinking that we have to work really hard, otherwise we're not going to survive. And so it is. That must be reflected to you in your reality if that is what you believe, so that you can see how powerful you are. I'm not saying all of our creations feel good, but they are our creations. We are so powerful that we are creating even situations that we may not particularly enjoy. But it's because of our own power that we are doing this. It is because we hold that belief system. And so, what is that quote Jesus says? If you ask, then you will receive. I can't remember it word for word. Ask and you shall receive. I was listening to this service yesterday, and he was talking about ask and you shall receive doesn't just mean all of the things that your ego wants. Oh, ask and you shall receive. Oh, man, I want a new car and $1 million. So I should be receiving that, right? That's God's job to give me what I want. First of all, you are God, not your ego construct, but you from within, the divine witness. You are God manifesting externally into this physical reality. Not your ego. Your ego is not God, but there is a spark of God consciousness within you that must reflect back to you all of your ego's belief structures. That's just how it works. You are the creator. So you're creating all the time based on your belief structures. And so we go into hermit mode to become aware of our belief structures and how we are acting out through these structures, not to punish us, but to show us how powerful we are, that we will receive anything we ask for, even the asks that don't feel so good to our ego, such as, I need to work hard in order to make enough money to survive. That is a belief system. And if you believe that, it means that you are asking for it. Maybe not consciously. You're not consciously like, oh, I want to slave away and I want to suffer so that I can make so much money just to simply survive. No, you're not consciously asking for that. But deep ingrained in your belief system is a belief that there's a belief that you have that is telling you, unless you work hard, you will not make it in this world. Now, maybe it was imprinted on you by your parents or your teachers or your friends. It doesn't really matter who imprinted it onto you. All that matters is that you accepted it. Once they reflected it out to you, you could have, which when we're kids, we don't really know. We're just a sponge. We're absorbing everything. But you could have been like, oh, I don't want to believe that. That sounds stupid. But we don't do that as kids. So we absorb everything. And so somewhere down the line, either in this lifetime or a past lifetime, you absorbed a belief system that said, if you do not work hard, you will not be provided for. And so it is. It doesn't matter if you consciously want that or not. All that matters is now that you see that it's there and you take full ownership and responsibility for your life, you rise up above it and you decide, this does not have power over me. This is the breakthrough, is rising up above the ego, rising up above the belief systems and saying, no, this does not have power over me. So I'm going to act in accordance. I am going to act as if this belief does not have power over me. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be terrifying because it's going to challenge this belief. Manifestation isn't all butterflies and rainbows and your life is all blissed out now. Manifestation means that you have to go inside and you have to face every single limiting belief that you hold within you that would be keeping your desires away from you, which sometimes means deciding, okay, I'm not taking double shifts at the restaurant anymore. I'm not. I'm only working as much as I want to work and then doing whatever else I want to do on the side, whether that's resting, doing the internal work, whatever it looks like, creating, doing art, posting YouTube videos, going to the park, whatever that means. You challenge the belief system that you don't want anymore by acting as if it's not true. And this is the terrifying part. This is the part that's going to scare the shit out of you. And this is where a lot of people turn around and just, whoop, I'm going back to the job because it was safe. It made me feel safe. It didn't challenge me. Maybe it was uncomfortable because I was working a lot, but at least I knew I could get my bills paid, even if just barely. At least I knew my bills were getting paid. Even if I was miserable, at least my bills were getting paid. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go back to the comfortable working double shifts all the time that I don't want to work. But if you just sat in that discomfort a little bit longer, if you just faced your fears a little bit longer, if you just built up in these hard times, is when you build up trust and faith in the divine. It's not when things are going well that you build faith and trust in the divine. It's when your life looks like it's falling to shit that you build the deepest faith and trust in the divine. So if you could just sit in that discomfort of not working double shifts and facing your fear that means you're not going to survive. To your ego, this means you're not going to survive. To your ego, this means death. To your ego, this means living on the street. To your ego, this means being homeless, because these are the things that have been programmed into our mind. But if you rise above it and choose to hold yourself there through the fear, through the discomfort, through the nights where you're up anxious, your stomach hurts because you don't know how you're going to pay rent the next day. You don't know how you're going to pay rent next week. Now, I'm not saying to go out and do things that are putting you in unsafe situations. I'm saying, even if you were homeless for a little while, that may be what your soul needs to do in order to confront all of these fears and purge them out of your body. And then you walk through that fire, because being homeless and facing all of your fears about what that means about your worthiness, what that means about your ability to create abundance, that is walking through the fucking fire. You're walking straight through the fire. And you know what? You're going to come out the other side cleansed, purified, if you do it well, if you do it right. If you crumble under the weight and you say, oh, I'm homeless, that means that I'm no good. That means that I'm worthless. That means that blah, that means that, and you spend the entire time crucifying yourself and you crumble under the pressure. That's not going through the fire well. That's you letting the fire consume you. But if you choose to rise up to the occasion and walk through that fire like you own it, like you made this decision, like, yeah, you know what? This is uncomfortable as fuck, but you know what? I did this because I knew it's what I needed to go through in order to come out the other side as an even stronger version of myself, as the best version of myself. And so you surrender it all and you trust that walking through this fire is going to purge you of all of your limiting beliefs, because you chose to rise up above them. You chose to say, this doesn't actually mean anything about me. The fact that my external reality is reflecting back to me all of this lack, all of this worthlessness, doesn't actually mean that that's true. This is not true. These are all stemming from my egoic limiting belief structures that I'm attempting to get rid of. And sometimes you have to walk through the fire to get rid of them. Not sometimes, every time, but it doesn't have to be as drastic as being homeless. Don't worry, I'm not telling you to go be homeless. There's a more that would be the fastest way through the fire. Doing that. And people do that all the time. Live in their car, travel around the country, sell all their belongings, get rid of everything. That's the fastest way through to find the truth to who you are, but you don't have to do it that way. You can do it the slower way, the more gentle way, where, okay, I'm going to work double shifts But then I'm also going to commit to myself that in my free time, I am going to either do the internal work. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to start doing shadow work. I'm going to start working on my passions. I'm going to start working on art, or I'm going to take more naps. I'm going to go to more parks. I'm going to, whatever it is that you want to do, that you wish that you could do if only you didn't have this horrible job that you have to work all the time. Make a commitment to yourself to do both. Make the time. If you won't give up the job, make the time for the things that you wish you had the time to do. Because I promise, if you put your phone down, if you turn the TV off, you have time. You have the time. So either make the time by being brave and fearless enough to stop the job that you hate so much and trust that the universe has got your back. Trust that the universe is going to support you. And I know I used a very drastic example with homelessness. That is not always the case. How do you know that once you quit your job, now you're going all in on your creativity? All of a sudden, your creativity comes back because you're not spending all your life force energy at a place that you hate. So all of your life force energy comes back, and you just start pouring it all into your passion projects. And then all of a sudden, you start putting yourself out there, releasing your passion projects to the world, making YouTube videos, doing all of these things with all this energy that you now have that's not being drained from a job that you hate. And 2 years from now, you're making a 6-figure income doing what you love because you were brave enough to face the fears of leaving this job that you hate. Manifesting is not rainbows and butterflies and bliss and abundance all the time. Sometimes manifestation is walking through a fucking fire because you trust on the other side of the fire is more truth, is more abundance, is more love, is more prosperity, because you understand that what is burning is not you. What is burning is your ego. What is burning is your limited belief systems. What is burning is not the truth of you, which is abundance, joy, freedom, expansion, excitement. But you have to let the old burn away to get deeper into more truth. If your truth is always covered up, layers on top of layers, like wearing 1,000 sweaters, and you're walking around like this, and you're like, oh, and you think that these sweaters are you, and you're sweating all the time, and you're hot, and you're uncomfortable, and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. These sweaters are suffocating me. And someone's like, okay, well, just take them off. And you're like, oh my God, I can't. What if I get cold when I take them off? What if when I take them off, I don't get in? Like, what if after I take off all my sweaters, there's nothing better to wear? What if this is the only kind of clothing I can ever wear for the rest of my life? What if after I get rid of all these sweaters, nothing new comes my way? And so then I'm just left naked to the, what's it called? To the weather, to the, I can't think of it right now, but you just have to trust that when you peel the layers off, when you let the layers burn away, one at a time, you are getting closer to the truth, and it's painful. It's painful. Sometimes it's excruciatingly painful. But that doesn't mean that you are not good enough. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve abundance. It just means that you have been holding on to limited belief structures, limited belief systems that have been keeping you in a nightmare your entire life. And in order to leave the nightmare, you first have to face the nightmare. You can't just be like, oh, I'm in a nightmare. Okay, bye. I'm walking into a dream. You have to face the nightmare. You have to face the belief systems because they are ingrained in your DNA, essentially. Not forever, but anyway. I'm like out of breath. This was intense, but I don't know if I'm going to post this. It felt really intense. And I hope that it's not confusing anybody thinking that people who are homeless deserve to be homeless. Nobody deserves to be homeless. Nobody deserves awful, painful, excruciating things. Nobody does. But when we play the victim to these things, we're giving away our power. We have to own it. This is your life. It's not my life. I'm not living your life. I don't have your belief systems. I don't have your problems. You do. You have your life. You have your exes. You have your belief systems. You have your problems because they are manifesting out from your belief systems. And I have my own. I have my problems. I have my grievances. I have my fire that I have to walk through, but it's not your fire. It's my fire, and I have to walk through it because it's being manifested from my belief systems. So we need to stop blaming people, and we need to stop playing the victim, because this is what's keeping us trapped in the egoic world of pain and suffering and perhaps comfortability, but at what freaking cost? Comfortability for the cost of your soul? No, thank you. I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid real quick and get to the other side where I can live in truth, where I can live in integrity, where I can live in abundance. So essentially, the choice is yours. You can either continue to keep blaming people, you can keep blaming the government, you could keep blaming the president, you could keep blaming your ex, you could keep blaming your parents, you could keep blaming everybody in your life for what it looks like except for you, but that's not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to keep you in your miserable, comfortable life. Or you could choose to courageously face everything as if it is your fault. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because you're holding on to misplaced belief systems. Not because you deserve them, not because you're not amazing, not because you're not divine, not because you're not abundant, but because you forgot. You have forgotten who you are. And in place of who you are, you've embedded yourself with limited belief systems that have absolutely nothing to do with who you are. But you're so powerful that because you claimed them as true, because you claimed them as yours, they manifest externally into your world, not to punish you, but to be a reflection to you of your creative power, to be a reflection to you of how freaking powerful you are. You are so powerful. You have created everything in your life, not because there is anything wrong with you, but because you have forgotten who you are and you have claimed limited beliefs as your own when you have no reason to, except for that you forgot. And that's okay. Give yourself grace and compassion and forgiveness as you move through this. Because if you notice that you have these, and then you shame yourself for it, and then you guilt yourself for it, and you're like, oh, I can't believe that I've been holding on to this for so long. I'm such an idiot. You're right back where you started. Self-hatred is getting you nowhere. It's keeping you in the same, it's another ego trap. It's keeping you stuck. Compassion, grace, forgiveness, cry it out. Hug yourself, forgive yourself, scream into a pillow. Do what you need to do to help process the rage, because that's what that is one of the first things that comes out when we face all of our belief systems is rage. We are enraged. We are enraged by everything being reflected back to us. We are enraged that we are stuck in this freaking loop. And that's normal. There's nothing wrong with rage. Can you forgive yourself while holding rage? If not, okay, not today. That's fine. Scream, cry, punch a pillow. Wake up tomorrow. Okay, can I forgive myself today? Still no? Okay, fine. I don't forgive myself yet. Scream, cry, punch a pillow, write it out, go for a walk in nature, sing, do yoga. And then the next day, ask yourself again. Keep asking yourself, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to forgive yourself? One day, you're going to say yes. There's going to come a day where you say yes, and it's going to be like a freaking weight has lifted off of your shoulders, because it was never truly the pain that was freeing you, though that was part of it. What truly is freeing, what truly frees you, is your own forgiveness for having made yourself walk through the pain. Your own forgiveness and compassion for creating a life that has hurt you. For the forgiving yourself for ever believing that you didn't deserve pure bliss and oneness and unity and abundance. We must learn how to forgive ourselves for forgetting who we are. Slowly over time, because it's hard and it's intense and it's painful. And some days we just want to freaking numb out and scroll or binge watch a TV show all day long. That's fine. Let yourself have a day to do that without the shame. Understand that this is hard. This is painful. We're walking through a freaking fire. Of course, we're going to need to zone out for a little bit and pretend like we're not in the fire so that tomorrow we can wake back up and be like, okay, let me try again today. Let me see if I can get a little bit further down this fiery hallway today, because I know every day that I wake up and choose to walk down the fiery hallway, at some point I'm going to be faced with the truth. I'm going to be faced with the truth of who I am. I know it's going to happen. I know that's where I'm headed. I know I'm walking myself there. And I know if I keep waking up every single day and promising myself that I'm going to try again today, eventually I'm going to get there. Eventually I'm going to burn away everything that's not me, and I'm going to remember. So let's just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Taking a break, pausing, sitting down, crying when you need to, numbing out sometimes if you need to. Don't judge yourself for how you walk through this fire, because it's freaking excruciating. But know that you always have the choice to rise above the fire. That is the breakthrough. You always have the choice to rise above the fire and see that it's not you. See that you're not actually the one being burned. You're the one watching your old self burn. You're the one watching the belief systems burn. You're the one watching the old paradigms burn. You're not actually the one being burned. So know that every single day you have the choice to see it all from the perspective of the one that is not burning. And when you can't do that, forgive yourself. When you can do it, forgive yourself. When you don't even want to be in the fire, so you numb out that day, forgive yourself. When you're enraged and you're angry and you're pissed, forgive yourself. That is the only real thing that we have to do, is forgive ourselves and rise up above it all and see that it's not actually the truth. It's been an illusion all along. I hope this resonated with somebody. And I love you. And you're doing a great job. And I'm so proud of you. Just keep waking up every day and promising yourself that you're going to try again. And even if you skip a few days, that's okay. Wake up the fourth day. Say, I zoned out the past 4 days because it was just super intense. But I think I'm ready now, so I'm going to try again. There's no shame in that. You're allowed to zone out for a few days and then come back. It's okay. It's okay. Okay? I love you.